The meeting will come to order. I'm Grace Lesperance, Cascade Supervisor. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordhook.
Here.
Trustee McDonald.
Here.
Supervisor Lesperance. Here. Treasurer Corson.
Here.
Trustee Kessel.
Here.
Trustee Shipley.
Present.
And Clerk Slater. Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pretty cool.
Motion or discussion for approval of tonight's agenda.
Shipley makes a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's a motion by Trustee Shipley, supported by Trustee McDonald to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Having no presentations this evening, this will be the first session of public comments. Now is the time to comment on anything on tonight's agenda that is not scheduled for a public hearing. So now would be the time to comment on the Wormies composting issue, the 2024 marathon here in Cascade Township, also the financial director position that's on tonight's agenda. If anyone wishes to comment on those items, now is the time. Later on in the meeting, we'll have a second public comment section where people can comment on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and address for record keeping. And welcome. Welcome, Mr. Van Solkema.
Hello. Again, Scott Van Solkema, 2570 Orange. Just a few things. Looking over the board packet, I noticed in the minutes for the meeting on September 13th, I had asked if anyone had talked to the owners of Tuffy, not the tenants of Tuffy. So, and I don't know if that had been done yet, if anyone actually, the person that is trying to lease out the building. But I am here to talk about Wormies. You know, it was they purchased the land July 27th, 2021. That's 792 days ago. In that time, there are probably businesses that have opened and closed in Cascade Township, and these guys are still trying to get off the ground. They purchased the land, obviously, because they had the permission from the prior planning commissioner, or not commissioner, planning employee of the township, Steve Peterson. Had they not been given improper information, he wouldn't have bought the land here. So he's here. Obviously, he wants to open up his business, which I do believe would be a very beneficial to the area and for that land in out there off of Whitneyville. You know, obviously, I've been here, I don't know how many different times talking about it in support of them, also the planning commission meetings. Speaking with them, I do believe they are good stewards of the land, and they're looking forward to doing the right thing on that parcel of property, that 13 acres. So it is a good thing that they open. I do have I have no reservations that they'll do right by what needs to be done in the neighborhood. I do also have another comment regarding the triathlon. I believe they've been here for about 10 years or so, give or take. Does the township employees, do they do anything in regards to like setting up barricades or barrels or directing traffic or anything like that? Or do we just shut down the road, then them and the road commission and the sheriff's department handles everything?
I think the latter, but we'll comment on that when we get there on the agenda.
My only thing is, like, do they pay anything to the township? I know when I used to work out in Lowell, they would pay for obviously the police presence. They pay for people shutting down the traffic and everything like that, and directing traffic, the police officers and such. But I was just curious if the township gets anything out of it. Obviously, they do bring in a lot of people, which is great, very beneficial for the area, fills up our hotels instead of some of the other seedy elements that do come into the hotels. And it is obviously a very beneficial thing. I saw that it was like one of the top 5 triathlons, and it's a qualifier for the Ironman. You know, you have to run a half Ironman in order to do a full Ironman. So it is a good thing. I have friends that have raced it, and they do like it. So that was my only question, is if the township gets anything or if they have any employees that they have to pay for to deal with this. So that was it. Thank you.
Real quick, just on those minutes, the September 13th minutes, because we're about to approve those. It's got you saying, you inquired if anyone has garnered the opinion of Tuffy tenants.
Yes.
How should we word it then? Because the township owns the building.
What did you say?
I asked about, has anyone gone to the guy who's trying to sublease it out to whoever, who's shopping it around, the older gentleman that's sick? Has anyone talked to him?
Yeah, I think that would be technically the Tuffy tenant.
Okay. All right.
But good
okay.
catch.
All right. I just wanted just clarification. Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you. Good evening, Mr.
Good
Chen.
evening. Thank you very much. Luis Chen with 5745 Whitneyville Avenue, Southeast. Again, thank you very much for the time. And we have several meetings now, so enough has been said. So I just wanted to add that, in considering, our presence in the township, in an ARC lot, I would like to add that, not only are we using the lot for an agricultural activity, which is composting, we are also doing it at an agricultural scale. So I would like you to, consider that. And also, if we look around, what's the purpose of an ARC? All of the properties around me are ARC, though they are being used for residential, which is okay. But, we should have a good say on, how we're going to be taking care of this land. Not only are we composting, but we're also 60% of the space, will be used for agriculture and conservation. So it's something to think about. We're taking the responsibility for that plot, not only with the business that we have, but we have the intention to conserve the rest of the space. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to add for your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yusuf Darwich. My address is 9929 68th Ave. I have a business, Waterstone Gardens. I do farm design, do ponds, wetland filtration. I used to manage the farm over at Grand Valley State University. That's where I met Luis maybe 10 years ago before he started Wormies. We had a worm compost at the time. So I love the idea, great in concept because it produces very rich material. I sort of watched Luis from afar since I started my own business. I left Grand Valley, installing farms and gardens. Eventually he reached out and asked for help with the design. And I was thrilled because the techniques that they're using are very cutting edge and really the best practices I've seen probably in the world when it comes to composting and conservation. So throughout this site design process, there's been a lot of things that have been added and come up and valid concerns brought up. But I want to ensure that this compost operation aren't like these giant windrows that you'll see. Like I get a lot of my compost from these places as a landscaper, but this is like really dense, small volume stuff. Like this podium is smaller than a lot of the compost piles that are at Wormies. And they sit there for a long time and they really cure. All incoming material is relatively light. It's highly screened, very picky about what's actually coming in to produce the highest quality stuff. Won't be a lot of runoff. The runoff that does happen will come into line collection basins with wetland filtration. Very limited, there's a lot in the site plan, valid concerns from the neighbors, but we're going to screen it. Like Luis was saying, most of the site will actually just be for farming. So growing like hay, different tree crops. The stuff that I've used from Wormies is like incredibly productive. I put it in gardens And my clients are just amazed with the productivity. They haven't seen growth like that. So I'm just highly in support of this. It's, I think, a good thing for the community. The density of the area will be preserved by having this farmland, not developed really
30
intensely.
seconds.
And I suppose that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone virtually, Ms. Jager? Okay. Moving on to Article 6, approval of the consent agenda. Motion or discussion?
Shipley, makes a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee Shipley, seconded by clerk Slater to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Financial actions, Article 7, financial statement for August 2023, and then the invoices to be paid on September 28th. Motion or discussion?
Motion to approve. Support.
It's a motion by trustee Kessel, supported by trustee Nordhook to approve the financial actions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, Article 8, unfinished business. Do we need a motion to untable?
I make a motion to remove the Article 8 from the table.
Shipley supports.
Well, technically, I guess we didn't table it. We put it down to the planning commission, but
Yep.
in any case,
Tabled it.
motion by trustee Kessel, supported by trustee Shipley to bring this item back in front of the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Director Hillbrands, welcome and thank you.
Great. Yeah, so I'll just give kind of a quick update on the application since it was sent back. So just as a reminder, the applicant is requesting a type 2 special use permit to allow for a commercial composting operation to be located at 5745 Whitneyville. The application was last before the board at the July 26th meeting, where the board decided to send it back to the planning commission for further evaluation, as there was some concern regarding the amount of traffic that the site might generate, as well as potentially negative effects for neighboring properties. The applicant did provide a letter dated July 7. It's included in your packet that includes additional information and clarification to address some of those concerns. And the letter goes into detail to describe the measures that will be taken to prevent noxious odors as well as contaminants from leaving the site. Those include the use of small scale deliveries that can be easily processed, the covering of all active compost piles, an aerated compost system to prevent anaerobic conditions, and a lined detention basin to capture runoff from the active composting area. The planning commission held another public hearing and reviewed the application at the September 11 meeting, and the draft minutes from that meeting are included in your packet. To help address the board's concerns, four conditions have been added to the original 8 for a total of 12 conditions. These added conditions will help to limit traffic as they prohibit the dropping off of composting intakes by third parties and also put limitations on the sale of material on site. After holding the public hearing, the planning commission recommended approval of the special use permit with the 12 conditions that are listed in the staff memo in your packet.
Discussion?
Brian, we talked about at last meeting, getting some input from other commercial composters and municipalities. Did you guys have a chance to do that?
The applicant provided kind of a few examples of it, and then we spoke to the people at Georgetown Township where they were previously located. And again, they confirmed that they didn't have any issues or concerns when they were operating there.
Okay.
Based on, I'd say, this has been probably the most vetted ordinance in the history of Cascade. I mean, I really think the planning commission did an absolutely fantastic job. We really put Mr. Chen through a lot, and he responded very positively and very professionally. We've got more conditions on this than any ordinance we've ever had. The references have been stellar in support of Wormies. I think we've really gone through this, and I would just like to make a motion to approve the type 2 special use permit for this. Support.
Are those with staff conditions.
Yes.
With staff conditions, yes.
Just a little bit further discussion.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to say is I was on the subcommittee for this topic. And I agree with what Tom said, and I think that when this first came to the planning commission, I think every single person on the planning commission was 100% against this until we learned more, opened our minds to it, really did a lot of research on this, and I agree with you, Tom. I think that this has been the most vetted topic we have had.
The discussion around changing how we list, taking the term commercial out of our own, is it our own ordinance, or can you elaborate on that?
Yep, that's the way it's listed in our ordinance. So we can, moving forward, we could go and amend that to change that language since there was concern with commercial. So that could be after this approval, we can go ahead and look at that and find a more appropriate.
Has there
kind of
been
title.
discussion about what that would be, so that when people search, housing, those house listings nearby, it's less likely to pull something out?
Not extensive ones, but we can look into that. And again, whether it's listed just composting instead of commercial or some other appropriate descriptive word, but yeah, we can make an amendment to the zoning ordinance to address that.
Okay, that would be something that personally I would like to see.
Sure.
What about defining the as practicable when it's describing the conditions?
Yeah, if the board.
Is there a way to put a time requirement on that? Or just, the only concern is that practicable is kind of an ambiguous term, because a lot of things are as practicable that never happen.
Sure. There can be, or we can put at least some, because they're coming back for an annual review for the first 2 years, so we can kind of touch base on that after year 1 or year 2. And if those need to be adjusted or not. The planning commission didn't want to put specific hard dates on there, but if it's something the board wants to look at,
I
you
think
could.
by leaving it open, it actually gave the planning commission more ability. Am I
Okay.
correct?
Yeah,
To go back out and look at different times. I think that's why it was so open. It wasn't just every year and then at these points, it was truly open so that if there were any complaints, any concerns from neighbors, they would allow them to be able to go look and take another look,
correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we can call them in for a review at any time if
Exactly.
issues come up.
which I think is the huge piece to this, which is something we have not done in the township
Mhm.
before. So I think that that helps put some sort of safety net on it, that if there are concerns or complaints in the future, we have a way to go back out and look at it.
And that's exactly my concern in protecting the neighborhoods and anybody downwind from there. If initial rises, we do have some clout or some
Mhm.
teeth if we need to say, whoa, wait a minute, slow down.
Correct, yeah.
And that's what we needed on all of our special conditions
In the process.
and the process.
Well, I appreciate the residents' concerns, and also that Mr. Chen's patience and cooperation.
Two things. We also put some hours for drop off. Can you go into that? And then you made a site visit.
Mhm.
You,
Yep, yeah, I did. After the last planning commission meeting, I went out there with the zoning administrator and the planning commission chair as well, just to, again, see everything one more time. And the planning commission chair can verify too, but they had some small piles out there and we walked and you put your hands in the pile and you can't smell anything at that time. You smell dirt. It's what it smelled like. And then to Timmy's point, it's condition number 10, where they restricted the kind of retail sales between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Again, just to limit traffic to the site while still allowing them that ability there. So putting a little bit of a restriction on that as well.
thank you.
Further discussion? That was a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Nordhook, to approve the type 2 special use permit for a commercial composting operation at 5745 Whitneyville Avenue. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
trustee Shipley,
Yay.
trustee McDonald,
Yes.
trustee Kessel,
Yes.
treasurer Correspondence.
Yes.
Clerk Slater, yes. Supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes, motion carried. Article 9, new business, 082-2023, A request to approve resolutions for Grand Rapids Triathlon to close public streets on June 8th and 9th, 2024. Director Mannion, thank you for coming tonight. Sorry to drag you out or keep you late for this one, but we appreciate it.
I'm finally to actually be at a meeting with the Wormies.
I know, for being such a contested subject, we sure have a popular presence.
So this one will be hopefully very simple and quick, because this is something you probably know far more about than I do, because it's been happening for 12 years. This is the Grand Rapids Triathlon, and fully supportive of this, especially because this year they tracked over $300,000 of revenue coming into restaurants, hotels, and other businesses in the region. And we would have to think many of those are right here in Cascade. So I'm going to turn it over to John Conkling, so he will be able to explain more.
Hi, John Conkling, race director of Grand Rapids Triathlon and Ada resident. We had another successful year this year, hosting almost 1,500 athletes over 2 days last June. Again, it was our 12th year of 13 years, not counting COVID, of course, but we are back to pre-COVID numbers, very healthy, modest growth. We hosted the largest number of new triathletes that we've ever seen at this event. New triathletes actually outnumbered triathletes that have been doing this for a while. So we're seeing more and more people getting into the sport, getting to health and wellness, which we were really happy to see. We typically pull in between 35 and 40 states, a couple countries every year. So they're coming in for an entire weekend, spending money here, coming with their families. Is a very family-friendly event. So things are just looking great as far as operations. Everything went very smoothly. And then also too, we're proud that we are now the biggest triathlon in Michigan, period, not independent anymore. We're bigger than Ironman in Michigan. So we continue to grow. We're typically a state championship for our USA Triathlon national governing body, which then feeds into their national championships. We've been national championships before at this event. So it's nationally recognized, and it continues to kind of be a leader within the sport.
And you pick as your official charity partner, Make-A-Wish?
Yes, they've been our partners since, I think, 2017.
And to answer Mr. Van Selkema's question before, we don't generally volunteer.
No, we don't require anything of the township other than just the approval for the road closures. We do obviously work closely with the Kent County Road Commission, Kent County Sheriff, and yeah, they have a whole command station down there. Cascade Fire as well, coordinate with them as well, just from a safety standpoint.
I know Cascade Christian Church provides a station for drinks.
Yeah, they've been fantastic.
Yeah. But are there any others that do that too, along the race route besides Cascade Christian Church?
We do have other groups. We have Home Realty Group, I think. They're right down by Cascade Road down here. They took over one of our run aid stations the past 2 years. They've been great to work with. We had Pedigo e-bikes down here. They supplied some bikes for us this year so that we could kind of zip back and forth through the race venue, our staff. So we're trying to find ways to involve even more and more businesses from a community standpoint, sponsorship standpoint, volunteering standpoint, just to keep things growing and keep that community involvement.
And you cover any extra cost with the sheriff's department?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Our highest cost is the Kent County Sheriff across all our events.
So there really isn't, I wanted to address that, any cost to Cascade Township, approval of the closure of the roads.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
This is a very proven and successful event, good for the whole community. And I move to approve the resolution for the Grand Rapids Triathlon to close the public streets.
Support. Comments?
Any further discussion or comments?
Oh, thank you. Just as a note, since I live about midway down Thornapple, every year this seems to get better as far as less impedance to our residents. Now, last year I went in and out of my driveway a couple of times and I didn't even see them. So I know that you changed some of your scheduling of events to go down Grand River Drive, and it's been real helpful and never any hesitation to let residents through. So I concur.
I've never gotten complaints about it.
Yes.
And people are not afraid to complain.
We hear it, trust me, if they have something to say.
Not sure if this is an issue or not. There are two different resolutions before you, one for each day because they have to go to the Kent County Road Commission. So it does need to have two individual resolutions.
We can do it,
Take 'em
I
as
believe,
one.
with one vote, though.
You can, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know if that was an issue or not.
Yeah, I meant to move to approve the resolution for both June 8th and June 9th.
Who seconded that? Is that?
Me, I meant to support both.
Yes, okay.
days.
It's a motion to approve, oh, sorry, was there any further discussion? So that's a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Kessel to approve both resolutions 082-2023 and 083-2023 to close the public streets on January 8th and January 9th as written. Oh, wait, am I messed up? Because I've got,
Yeah.
It's one item 82. It's one item, two resolutions.
sorry, okay,
We're all-
just basically that one. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Treasurer Correspondent,
Yes.
trustee Kessel,
Yes.
trustee McDonald.
Yes.
Trustee Shipley,
Yay.
trustee Nordhook.
Yes.
Clerk Slater, yes. Supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Item 083-2023, consider a resolution to designate POW MIA Recognition Day. Manager Smith, you want to walk us through this one?
Sure. I think with the transition from the interim manager to myself, this was overlooked because the recognition day is actually September 15th, 2023. But it's still a very important day that we recognize all the prisoner of war and missing in action service members from the Vietnam and Gulf Wars. To date, there are still 48 missing in the state of Michigan. So we do think it's appropriate to honor them and recognize September 15th, 2023 as Prisoner of War Missing in Action Recognition Day in Cascade Township.
Thank you. Further discussion or a motion?
We have a POW flag as recognized by the United States flying on any of our township flag staffs.
That's a great question, and I will answer it next time.
I think
For
we,
some reason, I thought we did at one point. I
On the
thought the
bridge?
ones on the bridge were switched out to them.
did see them this year, but I do believe we had those on the
Yeah.
bridge.
We didn't, I haven't seen them this year either, but I do think in the past we have flown them over the bridge.
And it would only be appropriate if we're going to recognize it to actually have those out. So we will.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And if they get weather worn, they should be replaced like the American colors are.
And I'll just say, I would love to see 8 flags back on that bridge
Yep.
instead of 3, because there was, or 6. There originally was 8. I think one made it into the river. And so then we switched down to 6, but it looked a lot more, it just seemed more appropriate when there was 8 of them along there. Now they seem kind of spaced
Wimpy.
out. Yeah. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
Does this day repeat or is this just for 1 year
No,
or?
this is an annual
Okay.
recognition day.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you.
Move to approve the resolution.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Shipley to approve the resolution designated POW MIA Recognition Day. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
trustee Shipley,
Yes.
trustee McDonald.
Yes.
Trustee Kessel,
Yes.
treasurer Correspondent.
Yes.
Clerk Slater, yes. Supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes, motion carried. Item 084-2023, consider a contract for financial services with Plant Moran. Manager Smith?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. This is a request for the board action to approve a 1-year contract with a 2-year option with Plant Moran for government finance division, with their government finance division for financial services. Upon me taking this position with the township and getting to know the staff, the makeup, looking at the organizational chart, and then also looking at some risks that I think the township actually has. There's a void in the township of having someone that has a financial background in government finance. And I have worked with this firm before, and in this particular point of 2023 being, we're almost to October, our budget needs to be put together and approved rather quickly, which we're currently doing with the staff, a meeting every day to get that budget before you for some approval. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in a very short period of time. And I know that this firm can come in and it can actually fill that void. This is also kind of a precursor to future discussions that we'll have at the budget session to talk about the future of the finance department within Cascade Township. As there is, it's such a complex and important position in local municipal government. And it's something that I think through the process of me coming on board, there were some assumptions being made about the way that we were conducting our budget and audit processes. And I think it's something that we need to do a complete review of and consider some other options in order to make sure that we're looking out for the best interest of Cascade financially, looking out for the best interest of the taxpayer dollars, and make sure that everything is appropriate as we move forward. So I'm asking for approval tonight on this contract to move forward for a 1-year contract with 2-year options.
Is this something that's based on just the interim period, or have you seen things that internal processes or lack of that have been existing, in the past, not just during this transition?
There are probably some best practices that could be put in place that have existed for quite some time.
I understood when I talked to you that we were looking at the model resolution and to approve Plant Moran for an amount to not exceed 50,000 for the remainder of 23.
That is correct. In the amount, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So looking at a 1-year or even a 2-year contract, we don't even know what that amount would be right now.
Right. I probably should have rewritten that resolution to approve the 1-year contract for the remainder of 23 being up to not to exceed $50,000 with the dollar amount to be set with the approval of the 2024 budget when that comes before the board.
That's how I read it anyways.
I apologize for the confusion there. So if it was not deemed to, and it was not approved with the 24 budget to fund this, then the contract would not proceed.
So one question I have is we haven't for a long time had any problems with our budgeting. We haven't had any problems with our audit. Would it be wise to look at it at the end of the year and see what they come up with for some ideas before we commit to going a year or two?
That question
Yes.
aimed at me. We absolutely could do that for sure. Even without them being here, we could spend some time and I could present to the board some findings that I know that they are going to suggest, and some findings that I have found myself personally going through the process that we should change. But yes, if that's the desire of the board, we could.
That is not the desire of the board. This is long overdue.
I agree.
And just because you don't see them doesn't mean they don't exist.
And I just want to say, as the new treasurer, who's only been here for the last 5 months, and to clarify that this is not to clean up the past 5 months since I have been here and that Ben has been gone. This is from years of lack of competent oversight, sloppy accounting at best, and township staff managing as financial aspects of this township that they are not generally in charge of. This I identified as soon as I started as treasurer, that we needed to have an outside consultant company to come in here and clean this up. It was brought to the Personnel and Finance Committee. It was decided within that committee to wait until we hired a permanent manager that would come in so that we could have a second opinion as well to make sure this is the appropriate thing.
The previous manager resigned 1 week after the new treasurer was appointed. So,
And
the new treasurer saw that need. Thank you, Treasurer Corsange, within a week of looking at the finances. So this is something that.
And if you want examples
we've got
of what you think is, I'm more than happy to bring some, or to discuss right now, some examples that have been brought to the public that we can talk about if anybody's asking questions.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be a resident and ask common sense questions.
Perfect.
We've very successfully run the township for 100 years without a financial budget
That's just
director.
because the tax base is so large. Anybody could run this township with the
Well,
property
can I
tax base.
finish, Grace, without putting words in my mouth? So the township was successfully run for 100 years without a budget director. And so if I'm just a resident, I'm saying, why do we need one now? And Wendy has some examples, but also $50,000 just seems to be a lot of money for a budget. And I work with a lot of businesses, a lot of manufacturing companies who do budgeting. And we aren't the city of Grand Rapids and we're the city of Austin, Texas. We're not a huge organization, but our budget isn't that complex. But it does have complexities. Would it really take probably $50,000 of outside to go through our budget process?
To clean up what we had, it'll be the best $50,000 we've ever spent.
Plus plus Plant Moran's came in. We paid Plant Moran $40,000 earlier this year and they came back with 10 recommendations
That
of
weren't
best
implemented,
practices.
that were not implemented until we had a new treasurer on staff.
Well,
And the disclosure of potential conflicts was delayed and never done by the old manager. And I don't know if you've heard the different things that we found this summer, but maybe we should have a set period where Manager Smith and Treasurer Corsange can kind of walk us through why this is necessary. Because personally, I've been pushing this stone uphill for 3 years, and it's refreshing to have somebody that actually looks at the finances and does their job. As a resident, this is the first time I feel good about the financial oversight of this township. Long overdue.
So to answer your question, first, the $50,000, go ahead. Because
So
I think that is not a lot of money for an outside consultant to come in for several months to do more than just budgeting. It's more than just budgeting.
You didn't, did
Go
you,
ahead.
to have it, the forensic audit alone that the majority of this board refused to look at and take seriously. If anyone would have broke that down and had the public discussion, that alone spoke for itself. But it was only 3 of us. It took 4 to have any action. So that was just pushed under the rug too. I personally, as the supervisor, would find it refreshing if we just shared why this is necessary.
And I will give one small example once you're done with the 50. I'll let you start with the answer, the $50,000. And then I will give you a simple example.
Okay.
I know there's another trustee that has a comment.
Let's finish his question first.
I guess a couple things were being said. I know this is my first meeting and I'm not here to create controversy, but
It's already here.
I'm here to manage the township. I was not hired to be the finance and budget director. This is not an audit issue, nor is it a siloed budget issue. This is a process issue that needs to be corrected. I am not implying that there was any wrongdoing with any of the funds in the past, but I think that the way that things are being reported and recorded and presented to the board and to the township, there's a much more clear and concise way with some best practices that could be put into place. We have, and I won't go into all of the detail, but we have staff, and when I say staff, I mean directors and non-directors that are doing various accounting practices all over the township within various departments. I think that that is a recipe for disaster at some point because you have non-financial employees that don't really understand the full complex of government financing, implementing and doing finance work. I find that very worrisome. And as myself as being the new township manager, I take pride in the work that I do and pride in the staff in the work that my staff does. And I want to present something that is proud, that the township is proud to look at. Yeah, I'm looking at the financials that come out that we present in the board packet every 2 weeks. And I know there's a lot of information here, but you can't tell me that the residents look at this and understand it.
No, and the residents who are capable of understanding it expressed extreme frustration about the lack of.
So I don't want to try and scare anybody. I think that this is something that needs to be considered. Most municipalities in the state of Michigan have physicians or consultants or contractors that perform these duties. This is not the first time that I've actually used this firm. I was at another municipality where I came in and brought them in to do the same thing. And I actually confirmed with them. I brought them in 2015, and they're still working in a small capacity in that community because they do serve a purpose. And they are the experts that follow the changes in the law that our legislators put on us and in mandates that they put on us. They react quickly to things like ARPA funds. They make sure that we are on our A game and that we are doing things appropriately. Not to say that I can't. I don't want anyone to doubt my ability because I do think that I can wear a lot of hats, but knowing the ins and outs of government finance and how it's continuing to change every single day, that's something that I think the township really needs to consider. And as the township continues to grow and becomes more complex and takes on more projects and continues to, you want to emphasize, you want to concentrate on economic development and growth or paced growth and work with, your other commissions about how we're going to strategize the growth of the township over the course of the next 50 years. This here, you can't lose sight of this. And this is a full-time job in itself. So all I'm recommending here is some relief for the rest of 2023. If we don't want to continue for the 2-year option, that's fine with me. We can readdress that during the budget process. But I think this is really something that needs to be considered by the board.
Well, thanks, Jade. That's the kind of explanation I was looking for because I wasn't quite certain what the parameters were.
Mhm.
So that would be for this year, and then we can come back and vote on following years if we want.
Correct. And I will present with the budget that we will put together, which I will talk about that in my closing comments about that process this year. We're working expediently to try and get you a draft budget much sooner than the last meeting in December, like I know was previously done, because that is not fair to you as the elected body to make a decision on the finances of the board that goes into effect 15 to 16 days after you're approving it and you've only seen it once. So we are working very quickly, even without this firm, to get that completed. And you can ask the supervisor, treasurer, and the clerk. We're having meetings. I've included all of them on their departments on creating these budgets and trying to number one, I'm trying to familiarize myself with the budget because it's not a complex budget, I think, as somebody said, but there are a lot of millages. There's a lot of overhead that needs to be looked at as far as admin overhead and cost allocations between funds, that there are standards within the government finance world, which I think we just need to make sure we verify that we're doing that correctly. So
I just want to verify that, or just to reiterate that this is all, I don't want any of this to be on our new treasurer, because it wasn't until Ms. Corstange started after, much concern from you all that she didn't have the qualifications that this was able to start. It was long overdue. It's more than prudent. And if people knew the financial background, you guys could have been gone a long time ago.
if I could say one more quick thing, I'm sorry, I meant to say this. When I mentioned that staff was doing the duties of some of the finance work, when I have mentioned this concept, because I don't want the staff to think that I'm coming in and upsetting the apple cart in the first 2 weeks I'm here. That's not my intent. But when I mentioned to them this idea and how they feel about it, you should see the sigh of relief that they are like, okay, I can actually do the job that I'm hired to do, because this is not someone figuring out monthly allocations back to the general fund. That's a department head. That's not what they were hired to do. And that's what's happening.
I have a question.
Let me finish Tom's question. I'll give you an example that was discussed a week ago, Monday. Grace, Manager Smith, and I went to the Thornapple SAD meeting. The Thornapple SAD was approved by this board in August or September of 2021. The first dollar amounts were collected, the tax base winter taxes of 2022. So we have 2022, 2023 funds from the Thornapple SAD. And our previous manager could not tell them the balance in their SAD fund. That is a very active SAD group. They meet, there's a committee of them. They meet monthly, every other month or so.
Yeah, John's kept us up to date. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a good group.
it is a great group, but
What's more basic
Wait,
than you
but-
collect the money, then you spend it for weed
I am
control?
telling you, this is the basic principles. Nobody could tell them their fund balance. Do you think that's a problem? That's a huge, that's.
The manager couldn't, and he handled the entire thing.
The manager of this township could not. We sat in that meeting and listened to residents' frustrations of previous things that have happened and lack of ability to give them a simple fund balance that they are trying to make decisions on what to do with this money.
And then
So
it
wait,
turned out,
no,
sorry.
I'm gonna get into this. So then before this, because one of them reached out to me via email and asked me what was going on. So it took me a couple hours to dig through, find the invoices, nothing. The account balance in their bank account for that fund, not a dime has been taken out of. All the money for that fund that they have been spending has come out of our general fund. And I am being serious.
Coded by our manager.
Not all of it, but most of it was coded by our previous manager. The invoices said right at the top, Thornapple River, weed control. wasn't taken out of the Thornapple SAD. It was coded to our general fund, not just one, it wasn't even like consistent. It wasn't even like the same.
Right. So what you're saying is we made a mistake in putting the funds that when we collected them into the wrong account.
No,
It wasn't a
we need
mistake, it
the-
was done
No,
per-
they're
we just
in the
can't figure
right
out why.
account. The problem is we put the money where it needed to. It was not on the Treasury Department. It was on the previous manager. And mind you, none of the accounting staff seemed to know anything about this SAD when we asked them questions.
It's
Why
insane.
was that? Because the previous economic development director was the person who oversaw the special assessment district money funds for the Thornapple River. That makes no,
But I guess my question, Wendy, is I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I'm just trying to wonder if we collected money from the special fund, we had an account for that fund.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is it didn't go into that fund.
no, all the money is in that fund. I said the balance of that account
Okay.
is full. Not a dime has been taken out.
Right. So so when
We've
you,
paid the bills
The general fund.
and the
paid-
general fund
And the man-
funded it all.
We didn't have an
It-
economic
This is
development. department.
basic accounting, Tom.
right.
Invoices come in, they get coded to a department and it comes out of that.
So
money.
did we do a transaction to go from the special fund back to the general fund?
We will, once we have this, somebody come in and double check all of the stuff that I did when I went back and pulled invoices from 3 different companies to pull out, to be able to see to go to this meeting and give them an idea of the past 2 years, what their fund balance is, because they had no idea, because our previous manager couldn't tell them. Nobody knew.
He was a
Nobody knew.
one-man economic department.
Yeah.
It was with no
And
oversight.
I am telling you this because this is one teeny tiny, small, simple example of money coming in, going into a fund. And nobody knowing the balance of that fund, nobody ever being able to tell the residents where their money's gone. Nobody coding.
Well, if we put the money into the fund, the balance would have been there.
If
The
you were-
balance
if you were-
is, the problem is it's not accurate. The balance is almost $200,000. It's $91,000 a year for 2 years. And we've taken nothing out, but we've paid for all of these things they've done in the.
I know enough about accounting. I'm just,
Here's a budget example of Cascade Township, how they did things for years, up until 2 years ago, up until the election, 3 years ago. You never saw anything in the budget that we were presented at the very end of the year ever referencing engineering. Nothing. You couldn't tell. No oversight whatsoever. Because the way the budget was, you'd see some capital out. Anyways, turns out when you just pull out our engineering expenses, we were paying $500,000 to $700,000 per year. But the previous manager was turning that into capital outlay and dispersing it throughout the different funds. So then nobody knew, the board wasn't seeing it. We're just bleeding to this engineering firm. Arguably, I would say, what projects were they completing? Minimal. And then this
wasn't
board,
tied
it
to
never
any
comes up to this
project.
board. So how is that oversight? That's poor. And that's just one example. Second example, the forensic audit that came out that the 4 of you didn't want to acknowledge, look at, and just wanted to ignore, identified a potential problem with, in addition to our supervisor selling the township trinkets under a doing business as false name, it identified a second company that was also run by an employee. Nobody did anything, including previous manager. And it turns out under the interim manager, what was discovered when I had to be temporarily in charge of overseeing the expenses, that he submitted a false invoice for work that he never did to the township. Luckily, we caught it and didn't pay it. But when we went back and looked to the previous years, he had done that multiple times. And Ben had just paid it. And we paid it. And then we paid the actual company that he hired for, a fourth of the cost to do the work. So that's why our finances need to be better looked at. And that's why it's been a painful 3 years to watch you guys brag about our AAA bond rating. What township with its tax base wouldn't have a AAA bond rating? It's just frustrating that we have so much good things going for us and so much potential that we haven't been able to do yet because of this lazy, sloppy, old boys club management.
I disagree.
I couldn't agree more. Wait, Jim, you were the reason behind it. You literally lied about not being able to, literally lied about the forensic audit. You said you didn't get it and then you couldn't, that's a blatant lie because
Sue sent it to.
oh my gosh, you have to log in with a password, Jim. It showed exactly when you looked at it.
After she sent it to me.
Yeah, before the board meeting where you denied reading it. And then when you said, well, when I looked at it, I didn't see anything troubling. That's our financial, that's the head of our finance committee.
Grace, can we just get back on to help
It's just
Jade.
frustrating.
Can we
It's
get-
been
can
3
we-
long years
can-
and you guys have hid and been terrible, lazy leadership.
No.
And it wasn't until we got a 4th vote that we could finally catch up to where we've been or where we should be.
Grace, you're fabricating stories, but let me get back.
You know what, Tom?
Grace.
Make a list and tell me exactly what I'm fabricating. Give me the opportunity to respond because it's easy to say you're fabricating. Give me the specifics that you think are inaccurate. Let me know. Specific
I'd like-
inaccuracies. List them
I'd
out.
like to get back to some
Because
stability.
you don't want to
Jade-
hide out in facts.
No. Jade, go ahead, please.
May I?
Yeah.
Okay,
Continue, Manager Smith. Thank you.
I did not mean to poke the bear.
It was already poked for 3 years. This was worse than people thought. It was as
Or
bad as
all-
we said it
It's
was.
even worse that it's being questioned right now.
Yeah,
even
that's
after
what's
examples.
frustrating.
I will say that
Well-
is what's frustrating.
The
to me.
egos that have been blocking any progress in Cascade. The only reason we are what we are is because we happen to be in a wonderful place to live, not through despite what previous leadership says.
Can I just finish my comment there?
Yeah.
I would,
Sorry.
I do apologize for poking the bear and bringing this on so early in my tenure here at Cascade. I do feel very strongly about what I'm presenting to you today.
So do we.
I would like to I'd like to take the motion out of it. Because I do feel like when we get back to the nitty gritty and get to the operations, what was happened in the past has happened in the past. I can't account nor can I opine on anything that was done. All I can do is look forward and move forward with the staff that we have and do the best that we can do. So with that being said, I still stand behind what's here regardless of the past feelings and actions of whoever it was. And I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus. I'm just here to move forward. So.
Trustee Shipley?
My hand stayed on my arm that time.
We
You
haven't
know,
even gotten into the airport. Do you want to talk about that one next?
No.
On you guys.
We are in the middle of changing our financial accounting. The way that we do things, the way that we buy things from vendors, the way that we're accounting. I sit on the Thornapple Rivers SAD board and we found this to be accurate, that we had no idea how much money's coming in and how much money's going out. And so keeping all the emotions out of it, some of it I agree with, some I don't agree with. Don't bite my hand off, boss. I find that it would be irresponsible not to bring in an expert that can help us transition from the old way of accounting to total accountability for taxpayers' dollars. If somebody paying additional $300 a year for a special assessment district wants to know, what can we do if we have somebody that lives up on Orange Street that says, how much money do we have to spend in repair of the pathways of the township, which we were proud of this year, but we got a lot more to do yet. We are obligated to give them an accurate answer. Just like we're obligated to buy the best product from the most qualified provider, whether it's repairing pathways or whether it's cutting weeds in the river. So going forward, I see no reason not to spend on the first year for this. And we've got the option of saying, okay, we're done with this. We can not extend the contract by simply budgeted response. And then I look at some of the other bills that we paid. What was this one going to be? $55,000? And how much did
Not to exceed.
not to exceed? And how much did we spend for an engineering company a couple of years ago before we got our in-house engineer to look at 3/4 of a mile of pathway? That was multi-thousands of dollars just for that. And that, I think that was less than a day's worth of work.
We paid $700,000 plus for pre-engineering work on a bridge over the expressway that never happened. Until then, later we got
So-
state funding.
Not to cut off any emotional responses, Shipley makes a motion to approve this contract for a year with possibility of review, not to exceed $55,000.
That is not for a year though, John. That's for 3 months.
Okay. That's still a lot cheaper than what we paid an engineering firm to drive down the street looking at a pathway.
No, but are you approving it for 3 months?
I
To
am
the end of
approving
the-
it for 3 months.
With the possibility of extension based on the budget.
Correct.
I would just like to add,
The model resolution is listed on the
Let's
second
get a
page.
second before
yeah, I
discussion.
will. But I will second that because we unanimously chose Jade to be our township manager. I
Good point.
totally support Jade. His background, his professionalism, his recommendations. This is the only thing I would want to ask, and it's not going to change my support. But I just want to make sure that we've put that in the budget, where we're going to pay for it this year because it wasn't in the budget. So I assume it just comes out of the general fund. But again, I want to say, I think this is important because it gives us a chance to trial it, if you will. And we support our township manager and he's requesting it. And it's a major request and I would certainly not want to deny that, right, for his very first big request to us.
I can just speak to the budget component. Yes, the $50,000, there is not a defined line item that this would come out of, like a professional services line item within one particular budget, like I would prefer. But with anybody that's going to do finances, they're going to touch many different departments. So we will spread that cost out evenly proportionately amongst all the divisions within their budgets where it's appropriate. So my goal is just not to use any more general fund dollars than what's already budgeted, but not knowing where we're at this right now in the budget this year, we will apply that appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
So you may have stated, Jade, and I missed it, but this particular financial services division does specialize in government
Yes.
Yeah.
budget.
Yes,
Correct?
they are completely separate than the auditing division, which Plant Moran is really known for. And that's probably who did I didn't even know that they did a forensic audit here when I approached my contact at Plant Moran, the financial services division.
And that was municipal division as well, but yeah, separate.
Yeah, they're separate.
And just to clarify too, as part of the budget process, we will be looking at some of the previous year's information. I just want to make sure that that is clear for everybody. I think that anybody that has looked at our previous financial information, trying to look at it through the website or anything else, it's a disaster. And as part of a budget process, you need to know what has been going on for previous years to be able to look forward to future years. And so part of this whole process will be for them to be looking at previous year's information as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
I apologize for losing my temper and apologize for the tone, but I can't believe the amount of resistance that several of you on the board have put at every move, including like resisting getting a different law firm than the airport, the zoning, so many things that just were that nobody knew about. And every time we tried to push to change that would benefit the residents, that what you guys did behind the scenes, unbelievable. Including trying, Trustee Kessel, as soon as I started, to try to take away my power to have anything over this meeting agenda as the supervisor. I mean, you can't make it up, the stuff that you guys were doing behind the scenes. So I apologize for the public outburst, but I think people would be shocked to learn that the funny business that was going on behind the scenes. Not anymore.
Well, we have a motion and I support it. Are we going to vote?
We have a comment.
Yeah, I'm just thankful to have competent financial people on board. This is a treat. This is like the last piece of a sorted puzzle. So it was a motion by who? Shipley?
Mr. Shipley.
Supported by McDonald to approve the contract for financial services with Plant Moran as written. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Manager Smith. Oh, opposed? Having no, I just.
No,
wanted to
I just
pull the
didn't
option.
hear everybody say they were supportive of it.
It was unanimous.
Motion carried. Having no discussion items tonight, Article 11, public comments. Now is the time to comment on anything on tonight's agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address. Welcome.
Wow, great meeting so far. I'd like to see that. Your $50,000 you're going to spend, you're going to get so much return on your capital investment there, you won't believe it. But I really wonder if I dug into some of these things, I'd be like the supervisor, only I wouldn't be as quiet. I would like to say I was really kind of upset about the worm farm. That's the most prosaic business you could ever have. I mean, what would there be? Why would they need 12 conditions? And I know last time I engaged in a little levity when I was up here talking about it, that if it were me, I'd just open a pig farm there and let the neighbors, say where they're at. But other than that, you could get some guinea hens there. But come on, guys, 12 conditions for a worm farm? Look at, if you want to see something that should have had some conditions on it, look at the Mr. Car Wash. I have 2 vehicles I get washed there. You take your life in your hands every time you drive in and out of there. Yeah. And talking about taking care of things, I'll bet if I ask you, not one of you could tell me what metrics you have for each department. And Wendy, I was just a little disappointed in you and some of the questions you're asking about that farm, the worm farm. I mean, come on.
Ask a question.
Who was it? Jefferson said the government that governs best is the government that governs the least. Why do these people pay taxes? Oh, by the way, I finally got the flag. I'm an immigrant and a former veteran, so I can say this. I was very upset with the flag at Gaylord House and the ladies that were here that were so cute that night that said they would tell them to replace the flag. Well, they never got it done. So what I called them up and said I was going to be there with a TV camera because I got friends in the TV business. They replaced it right away. But that's what you have to do.
1 minute.
Okay, yeah. I don't have much more to say except clean up your act, get this company in there. But you have employees that I bet you don't have an annual review with them, department heads that you review, that you set metrics. Come on, metrics. Judge what you're doing each time and use a zero-based budgeting. What you had last year doesn't count. What do you need this year? And can we cut some people? Let's move forward with some professionalism. And if you got some people here that have their hand under the table, get them indicted.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get his name.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, board members. I'm Shivani Mishra. I'm a resident of our Cascade Township. Somehow, for this tax, I did not receive any mail or the reminder, so I kind of happened to pay just a couple days back. So I did pay my full tax, but I do have some late fee. I'm here to request for waiver, just one-time waiver that I'm looking for.
So basically, we already kind of requested for the waiver, and we never make late payments. And tax as high it is for the Cascade Township, we understand, the taxes are high, but we make the every time opportunity to pay in time. But this time, it was somehow missed. And when I called the office, it wasn't nicely taken that how we can waive. I mean, it has happened with other places that we request for the waiver and it gets waived for the something that happened first time, and I was expecting the same, but it wasn't the case. And they said, well, you can only request to the board and they can decide on it.
So they threw us under the bus.
Right. So we
Publicly.
took the opportunity to kind of come here to see. This was actually a great opportunity for us to kind of come out and see. And this has been kind of wonderful time. I'm really enjoying how you guys really.
By the way, this is a good meeting.
Yeah.
I admire you guys.
Yeah.
Talking nicely.
I don't know the process.
I was gonna say, the problem is taxes are due at a certain date. They're due very similar twice a year, always.
Like Christmas.
Yeah. And it's not just our money we're collecting. Matter of fact, most of the money we collect goes to other places. It goes to the
That's right. It's only
towns, to the
what is it,
schools.
11% that the
It's a
township
very
retains?
small amount. And if we started giving whatever, waiving your fees.
No,
No-
we're not asking
no,
for
but I'm
waiving the
saying-
fee. Actually, we already paid the tax in full. It
Uh-huh.
just, so the deadline was September 15. We paid on 20th. So it just kind of missed, like somehow it's not in my calendar. And then I look for reminders and all those. So nothing came to us. Like it just kind of, it's not intentional. It's like, just like kind of we missed. And then like, so we felt like, oh, so we missed. I mean, there should be something to kind of do that.
But
And I think,
yeah, the problem is if we start waiving fees, that
I'm not-
nobody's gonna pay, but I think that's what you're asking us, is to waive your late fees. That is what
just
you're asking.
for one
us.
time,
Yeah,
I'm
but I'm
asking.
saying if we started doing this, our board meetings would be full of people coming in here requesting to waive their late fees. And that is something that we just shouldn't be doing, because it sets a precedence that nobody's gonna start paying their taxes on time.
I disagree on that part. I mean, I think if the people come, I think I mean, that is a good thing, like to have people to come to this board meeting to be aware. If that's what brings the people here, that's what brought me here for the first time.
People to show up. Yeah.
But I don't think that is gonna be happening. I'm not requesting for like I did not like intentionally missed. It just 5 days, I think, was the late. And I think there should be some like consideration, grace. I took effort to come here. And I think I will also say one thing is like, I think we are getting into so much like emails and all those. I think maybe it will be worth like sending an email reminder. People can sign up. This will never would have happened to me or anyone. Like, so I think those things can be a great idea to kind of bring to for the future ones too.
I don't know, I've had late fees on my credit card. It makes me never do it again. So I think that's the point.
That's why they're in place.
Yeah, I mean,
is-
yeah.
No, I
Truly,
understand
I
the
believe
point.
you, what you're
Yeah.
saying, and you have a great heart to think that if
Mhm.
we start waiving late fees, that most people won't be paying on time. You have a great heart to think that, but is not, they are there for a reason so that people pay on time. And if they don't, it only happens once.
So for me, like it never have happened twice. Like even with the credit card, sometime when I had that, like I request them. I mean, it's life happens, things happen, and then sometimes like it can be not only my fault. I did not get mail in the mail. I don't know. Sometimes things get messed too.
30
So it's just-
seconds.
So I think like, so even with the credit cards, like if it happens once, I mean, and then they waive, but like I never happen to have that. So I don't think like I'm gonna keep coming because you waived me once, or like that will put a bad publicity. I'm not gonna put anywhere either. So I think I do request that you guys consider for my request.
If I may, just as a point of order, though it's not my meeting, this isn't a time for requests for board action. This is just for discussion, and I'm more than happy as the manager to sit down and talk with you individually outside this meeting and discuss the process and the consideration. And then if there's a formal request before the board, we can put it on as a formal agenda item.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight.
Ken Vandercock, 7200 Leighton. Quite a bit earlier in the year, Tim brought up an ordinance about all these emergency, and the lawyers have been sitting on it. Did we ever get a ruling on it?
We admittedly kind of let that, well, it not fell through the cracks, but it didn't get pushed forward. And Manager Smith and I spoke this week about it, and he's going to follow up with the lawyers and make sure it comes on board. This is costing the township money. It's the hotel, how would you call it? It's recouping the public safety dollars.
Oh, yes. And we met with Omar today.
Yep. And then there's it would be at Foster Swift,
Mhm.
at our council's desk to follow through on what he'd looked into as far as tools to recoup money that we have to spend to clean up after those lazy.
Valid
hotel owners.
concern. It was brought to my attention this week and it's on the list for me to take a look at.
It's costing the township money.
I'm not disputing that fact. I'm
And
just
it's been
stating that
sitting for quite a long time. So why haven't these people, it's billable to them. Why don't they jump onto it?
Oh, probably because we'll get there. I apologize.
Okay. Hopefully the next election, we get rid of the rest of the good old boys on the board and have one clean board from then on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Scott Van Salkma again. I was just curious if you guys are following what's going on with the MTA and Lansing on how Lansing is trying to push forward legislation regarding to eliminate all local authority over the location and permitting of utility scale wind and solar facilities. My brother is a supervisor in a northern community. I believe his township is sending forth a resolution saying that obviously they want to keep local control local. Now, granted, I don't think we're going to get wind turbines here because of the large airport that we have in the community, but they could want to put solar farm in that 80 acres right by the airport that's owned by Visser. So if we can do anything to stop that, that would be great. Also, regarding the POW MIA thing, you guys voted on something that already happened September 15th. Apparently, the POW MIA was established back in 1979 through a proclamation signed by President Jimmy Carter. And every year subsequent to that, they've issued an annual proclamation for the third Friday of September. Now, reading through what you guys authorized or voted on, it's just still specifically September 15th, 2023. It doesn't say anything in perpetuity or the third Friday in September will always be recognized by Cascade Township as POW MIA Day. Is there any way to?
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
It was given to me from the interim township manager the day prior to the last board meeting. And we don't make agenda changes that late. And so as a matter of record, we still wanted to recognize it even though the date had passed.
Okay.
It's every year it comes, but it's one of those things in our transition that got missed. So.
Okay. I was just, but again, it was just for like the one day. It's not a
That's how it
continued
always is,
resolution.
yes.
Okay.
Do
All
we have to
righty.
do this? Do we have to pass the resolution every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because every president subsequent has issued an annual proclamation commemorating the third Friday in September as National POW MIA Recognition Day. So that was just my.
Wait, say that again? President what?
Then at the national level, the president authorizes a proclamation for the third September or the third Friday in September as National POW MIA Recognition Day. So they do the same thing as you guys. They just, obviously
got it on time.
didn't get slipped through the cracks on the national side. So,
Well, if we pulled it back, waited, and now, everyone else got the attention, we expanded a little bit longer.
yes. Okay. And then other than that, yes, good meeting. I still support Treasurer Corstange as I know there were some people that were upset that she was coming on board because she wasn't a CPA, but again, I'm glad that she was on there. I even put in for the position and I'm glad that you got it. You definitely got your stuff together. And Jade Smith, all the meetings aren't like this. So,
I hope not.
They're not.
but they are lively, right? It's fun.
No,
So,
we just had to get that out. I apologize, but this has been out there for it just to get movement.
but no, after listening to your interview, that was recorded. You seem like you're in the right spot and wish you well. And hopefully
30
you're
seconds.
here for at least the next 10 years, as long as, or longer, as long as you want. So
I appreciate the support.
yeah, thank you.
And Mr. Van Sokelma, we did get that, the MTA has been really good about sharing that, information about the kind of.
One, to take away zoning.
Yep. And we've got their proposed resolution. I don't know if it's a resolution or something. We
Letter.
have it.
I'll address it in my comments.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bujak, welcome.
Walter Bujak, 6639 Thornapple River Drive, your Kent County Commissioner, District 21. Just wanted to say thank you for all the hard work that all of you are doing here for the township. I did come before you at the last meeting and you did request an action by me. And within less than 12 hours, I had been back to the county and followed up on your request, which prompted you to have a closed board meeting on Friday the 15th, I do believe at 10 a.m. So just to let you know, you asked me to take an action and obviously I took that action, prompting you to respond. I can't comment on that current issue right now with the potential, for legal action. And I'm not able to comment on behalf of the county, but I just want to let you know, you asked me to do something and I did it.
You did. Thank you.
Thank you.
I attended the last Thursday's Eagle presentation regarding the Hillsborough PFAS investigation. And I'm glad to see that the township manager Jade Smith was there. There was 90 residents It was basically an informational meeting. They really didn't provide any information as far as what the source of the potential PFAS is. It is an ongoing investigation. They were very informative and very patient with the residents that were there and tried their best to answer lots of questions, lots of great questions. I learned a lot too. I had no idea that Cascade had a third, now has 3 PFAS things. And I didn't know about the industrial PFAS. So I learned something too. And I plan on following up and then being in attendance throughout the entire PFAS investigation right to the resolution. So I'm committed to doing that. And lastly, I'm looking forward to the grand opening of your new fire station. I understand that next month they're going to be opening the new fire station. And I'm hoping to get like an official invitation to come to the ribbon cutting. I don't have to be part of that ceremony. I just want to be there. I very much support the fire department and just want to let the fire department know that, I'm interested in what's happening there at the fire department. It's just though it's exciting. I'm so happy for them and the new facility that they're going to be getting.
I think we set a date for the first week in November, so stay tuned and we'll let you know.
Oh, okay.
We set it in the evening so that hopefully residents are able to attend.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grace, can I ask a quick question on that? I had some residents ask you, is this going to be like an open house?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Our e-newsletter should come out, I think this week, and I believe the date is in there too, but we'll make sure we put it out for everybody. Any more public comments, either in person or virtually? Manager comments.
Okay, everybody's stealing my thunder tonight. Yes, I did attend the PFAS presentation last week that was put on by Eagle. It was very informative. They are still, as Commissioner Bujek said, they're still in the investigation stage. One of the things that came out of that meeting, though, was some residents commenting on our website and that we needed to make it a little bit more informative. So I can tell you that we reacted quickly. And if you go to the website on the homepage, you will see right on the landing page that you can click on the PFAS site, which actually takes you to a landing page, which has very generic information about PFAS and education. But then for all of those interested, whether they're residents or just interested in the particular areas within the township, there's dedicated pages for each of those with additional information. Included is the presentation that Eagle did put together last week. So we do have the education out there. It is right there on the homepage. And if there's more tweaking that needs to be done to that or suggestions, please let us know so that we can continue to make our website more user-friendly. I will address the open house at the fire station. Official invites will go out. We're compiling the list now. It's going to be November 2nd at 5 o'clock. We have a planning meeting tomorrow, but it will be an official ribbon cutting. And then after that, we will do tours of the fire station as well. So I've been in the facility and we have another construction meeting update tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to it because it is a very, very nice station. So, but more to come on that. And it is in the e-newsletter, which I believe is going to go out next Monday. So look for that in your emails if you don't receive that, or if you receive the e-newsletter. I also wanted to just announce that we did have a longtime employee of the township, Ron Sabin, who was a building inspector plan reviewer who did retire. He retired and his last day was last week on Friday. He was with the township for over 17 years. So we wish Ron well. And I would like to plug our Parks and Rec department. They are actively looking for volunteers. She has a volunteer coordinator now. There's a lot of work to be done in our parks. And there is an email address if you're interested in volunteering. It's volunteer@cascadetwp.com. And you can put what you're interested in volunteering for, and they will get back with you when they have their volunteer dates and give you more information. I know that I believe it's this Saturday they're working at the Wycliffe, and they're looking for active volunteers there. You can just show up if you want. They're going to be clearing some of the trail. And then Tuesdays at 10, they're specifically looking for seniors to help. So if you know any seniors that are looking to give back to the community and get out there, have them also email that and show their interest, and Melanie will get back with everybody there. I was going to talk about the budget, but I'm going to leave that alone. So that's all for tonight.
Thank you. Board comments.
Bring your neighbors. As you can see, there's a lot of changes going on in the township. Some of them we agree with, some of them that we don't agree with. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to hear from the residents. And also, I believe that a former board member and long time resident of the Cascade passed away this past week.
Yeah, Bob Van Streen.
Yes.
And he was a member of the board when the township was just a shadow of what it is today. And he made a lot of decisions that we can thank him for. And he was a lifetime resident and businessman here, well respected. So keep them in your thoughts and minds and come to the next meeting and bring your neighbor also. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one thing for Manager Smith, just for future reference, the education requests that come through our board packet, I think need to be looked at a little as well. They're just lack some detail and seem to have generalization.
Yes, we can look at that. And actually, I'm glad you said it. If I can add one more comment. You'll notice in tonight's packet that my agenda item looked a little different than they have in the past.
Looked nice. It looked
I
good.
wanted to just kind of put that out there that moving forward, all of our requests for board actions will look like that from all of the departments. Because it's going to become, there's some more clarity in those action requests and also some more transparency when it comes to budgeting and which line items those requests are going to hit. So look for those as we work with the staff to tweak those, give us a little bit, but that was going to become the norm.
Just wanted to say a special thank you, Jade, to you. You've done a fantastic job. We're really lucky to have you. We'll try very hard not to scare you away because you're the best thing that's happened to us. And we
I go
know
back
that.
tomorrow. Just kidding.
And then also a thank you to many employees, but specifically Planning Director Hillbrands, who did a fantastic job, who has done a fantastic job as our new planning director, but specifically with the Wormies navigating all that. And then also our new Parks Director, Melanie Mannion, and then our new communications person, Rich Lakeberg. Just fantastic additions to Cascade that really are making a difference. Further discussion or a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Shipley Sports.
It's a motion by Clerk Slater, supported by Trustee Shipley to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.